Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Particularly just read the room and you should be alright. Hello, hello. Particularly just read the room and you should be alright. Hello, hello. Particularly just read the room and you should be alright. Hello, hello. Particularly just read the room and you should be alright. Hello, hello. Particularly just read the room and you should be alright. Hello, hello. Particularly just read the room and you should be alright. Hello, hello. Particularly just read the room and you should be alright. Hello, hello. Particularly just read the room and you should be alright. Hello, hello. Particularly just
Ang ID naman lang.
read the room and you should be alright.
Ha?
Hello, hello. Particularly just
Ang ID naman lang.
read the room and you should be alright.
Ha?
Hello, hello. Particularly just
Ang ID naman lang.
read the room and you should be alright.
Ha?
Hello, hello. Particularly just
Ang ID naman lang.
read the room and you should be alright.
Ha?
Hello, hello. Particularly just
Ang ID naman lang.
read the room and you should be alright.
Ha?
Hello, hello. Particularly just
Ang ID naman lang.
read the room and you should be alright.
Ha?
Hello, hello. Particularly just
Ang ID naman lang.
read the room and you should be alright.
Ha?
Hello, hello. Particularly just
Ang ID naman lang.
read the room and you should be alright.
Ha?
Hello, hello. Particularly just
Ang ID naman lang.
read the room and you should be alright.
Ha?
Hello, hello. Particularly just
Ang ID naman lang.
read the room and you should be alright.
Ha?
Hello, hello. Particularly
Ang ID naman lang.
read the room and you should be alright.
Ha?
Hello,
Ang ID naman lang. 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 It's actually pretty good. Ang ID naman lang. It's actually pretty good. Ang ID naman lang. Probando.
Prueba, 1, 2, 3.
There we go.
Ok. Continuamos. Son nada. Cualquier propiedad que necesites que en la clase donde estás no la puedas acceder, muy probablemente si tienes el handler puedes usarlo para accederlo indirectamente. Ok, so volvemos al launch. Lo próximo que se hace después que se inicializa el handler y se le pasa el game setup es que pues, va a correr el constructor de game setup. En esta parte van a notar que está inicializado el Key Manager, el Mouse Manager y el Music Handler y que se hace la inicialización del juego como tal. Se crea la pantalla y el JFrame que va a tener todo lo que ustedes van a usar. Es muy probable que ustedes no tengan que cambiar nada en esta clase per se para poder implementar los specs. pero es importante que entiendan cómo funciona. Cuando se corre el método de run, empiezan a correr varios threads que van a estar controlando qué va a pasar en el juego y cuándo. Y se corre los dos métodos bien importantes, el de tick y el de render. Es importante que entiendan que el método de tick se va a correr 60 veces en un segundo. ¿Es that correct? 60 veces en un segundo. So, todo lo que hagas en cada tick va a ocurrir muchas veces. Si quieres algo que ocurra, digamos, en 5 segundos, pues entonces tienes que asegurarte de que no lo hagas cada tick, sino que hagas algún tipo de counter que te permita controlar cuándo va a ocurrir. Entonces saben que el método de tick y render están separados para que en el método de tick puedan crear cualquier tipo de funcionalidad, cualquier tipo de cambio en las clases que vaya a producir un cambio de estado. Entonces en el render controlan todo lo que tiene que ver con qué va a aparecer en la pantalla, qué es lo que se va a ver, qué sprites, qué imágenes y qué cosas se ven encima de otras. Luego de que se termina el game setup, se le hace al handler se hace set game como el game y al game se le hace start. Empezó. Díganme allá atrás si se ve bien la clase ahí. Más zoom. Un poquito más. Ah, perfecto. Ok. Ahí se puede ver mejor que antes. Perfecto. Ok. So, esta es la base del world. En esta clase sí, muy probablemente ya van a tener que hacer cambios para poder implementar los specs. Notarán, como mencioné, que el handler está aquí. So, si tienen que cambiar algo del player o tienen que acceder a algo de la pantalla, tienen todo lo que necesitan porque tienen a handler. El world está encargado de la lista de clients. Eso es uno de las muchas cosas que van a tener que cambiar para poder implementar sus specs. Van a tener que acceder a la lista de clients. Los métodos implementados aquí, Generate Client va a crear un client nuevo para la lista de clients. Creo que metí a la clase que no es, Joseph. Metí a la clase que no es. Ya. Que estoy en Base World. Ya. Mala mía. Muy probablemente no van a tener que cambiar Base World para nada. Restaurant One es el que implementa el que hereda de Base World. En Restaurant One es que están todas las cosas específicas que van a tener en su juego. Está por ejemplo el capacity que nos dice cuántos clientes pueden estar total en la lista de clients en el restaurante. Ok, entonces el método de tick del restaurante per se va a notar que tiene
¿Esos son los clientes que genera o los que pueden estar al momento en el restaurante?
¿Puedes hablar un poquito?
¿Esos son los clientes que genera el videojuego o son los que pueden estar en el momento? ¿Son los que pueden estar en el momento del restaurante?
Son los que pueden estar en el momento del restaurante. Entonces el juego va a generar solamente hasta la capacidad que tenga el mundo. Ok. So, básicamente, el count nos va a decir por cuántos ticks ha ocurrido, cuántos ticks han pasado. Cuando la primera vez que corre el tick, count va a ser igual a 0 y la segunda que corra va a ser igual a 1. Cuando sea que count sea igual a 5 por 60, es decir, cuando hayan pasado 5 segundos y el restaurante no esté lleno, él va a resetear el count igual a 0 y va a hacer que los clientes se muevan. Van a notar durante el juego que si que cada cliente según entra, si siguen llegando clientes, ellos se van a mover un poquito más abajo, haciendo como un tipo de fila. Pues esta es la parte del código que hace que eso ocurra. So, this.generateClient va a generar un cliente después de que se mueva la fila de clientes que ya estaban allí. Esta parte del código solamente va a correr para los primeros 5 clientes. Van a notar que después de que esos 5 clientes están, es muy probable que no va a ocurrir, no va a pasar por esta parte. Porque esos clientes se van a ir, o sea, se van a ir según se les acabe la paciencia, o cuando atiendas a uno va a llegar otro. Si el restaurante está lleno, él entonces va a iterar por los clientes para saber si hay alguno que se va a ir, es decir, que se le acabó la paciencia. Si ustedes quieren hacer algún tipo de implementación o ustedes quieren remover a un cliente de la lista de clientes, la mejor forma de hacerlo no sería removerlos ustedes directo de la lista, sino marcar una variable que creamos que se llama isLeaving. Cuando el cliente es marcado como isLeaving, al iterar por la lista, después de iterar por la lista, lo va a añadir a otra lista y esa lista se va a encargar de removerlo de la lista de clientes. Esto ocurre porque no deberías de tratar de remover un objeto de la lista mientras estás iterando por ella. Eso produciría una excepción. Tienes que iterar por ello y cuando termines la iteración, removerlas en otros. So, tú los marcas para poder removerlos después. Okay. Además de hacer que los clientes se muevan, el world está encargado de hacer el tick de los clientes y el tick de los counters. Van a notar que también aquí en esta clase está el método de render del mundo. Si ustedes quieren añadir algún tipo de objetos como las sillas, como las mesas, como el background, para que se puedan ver en el juego, es muy probablemente que tengan que entrar a este método de la clase restaurant. Van a notar que lo primero que se le hace render es el background, porque el background es el piso per se. Ustedes no quieren poner nada detrás del piso porque no se va a poder ver. El render method va a ser en orden. So, él va a hacer el render del piso y entonces encima del piso va a ser el render de todo lo demás. Si yo, por ejemplo, moviera esta línea al final, lo único que ustedes verían en la pantalla sería el background. Ok. ¿Alguna pregunta hasta el momento? Para identificar un cliente. Ok. ¿Puedo contestar esa pregunta con la clase que voy a ir ahora? ¿Puedo? Ok, perfecto. Vamos a ir entonces a la clase de cliente como tal para ver qué es lo que pasa cuando le hacemos tick a un cliente. Mala mía. Aquí. Ok. Zoomed in? Enough? Yeah, ok. Ok, so el cliente tiene varios atributos que son únicos de él. Entre ellos, su paciencia, que es esta variable que tenemos aquí, patience. Esa paciencia va a ser la paciencia que él tiene en cada momento, después de cada tick. Como ustedes van a notar, mientras después de cada tick, esa paciencia va a ir bajando. So, nosotros también tenemos otra variable que se llama OG patience, que es la paciencia original, la paciencia con la que empezó el cliente cuando entró al restaurante. Entonces tienen el otro atributo, isLeaving, que es el que nos deja saber si ese cliente se va a ir, o sea, si se le acabó la paciencia. En el constructor de client, la imagen que se usa para cada client se escoge en random. Hay una lista que se llama people en images y esa lista contiene todos los sprites de diferentes tipos de personajes, diferentes tipos de clientes que pueden entrar. Si usted quisiera saber, por ejemplo, si el cliente es un programador, que es uno de los images que tenemos, déjame ir aquí. Aquí. Tenemos tenemos el array people que tiene todas las fotos que tenemos. So, tú podrías, por ejemplo, para saber si es un programador, tú podrías verificar si el sprite de ese cliente es igual al sprite de programador, que es el número 6 en la lista de people. Eso es una de las formas que tienes de hacerlo. Ok, déjame volver un momento al método de cliente. El constructor de cliente. Ok, ese super lo que hace es que llama a la clase de la cual cliente hereda. Cliente hereda de una clase llamada Base Dynamic Entity. Significa que cliente tiene todos los atributos que tiene Base Dynamic Entity. Entonces, Base Dynamic Entity a su vez hereda de Base Entity, que tiene un atributo sprite. So, si tú tienes una instancia de un cliente y tú quisieras comparar el sprite de ese cliente con un sprite dentro de la lista, tú puedes acceder a eso a través de .sprite. Es un atributo público. Ok, pues volvemos a la clase de cliente. Ok, además del patience y el OG patience, cada cliente va a tener su propia orden. Ellos van a llegar cada cliente cuando llega viene con una configuración random de ingredientes que son los que ellos quieren en su hamburger, en su burger en este caso. Notarán que una de las partes del juego, uno de los objetivos del juego es que tú hagas esa orden exactamente igual para servírsela a ese cliente. So, al principio en el constructor de cliente se establece la paciencia original, la paciencia con la que comienza el cliente, que va a ser un random integer entre entre lo que sea que se dé esa ecuación ahí. ¿Entre 0 y qué? ¿Cuál es esto?
Entre 0 y 120 por 60 son 120 segundos. Son un número random entre 60 segundos y 120 segundos. Son entre 1 minuto y 2 minutos.
Ok, so la paciencia de cada cliente es random entre 1 minuto y 2 minutos.
Right? Esa es la logística detrás de esta nomenclatura, la puse así a propósito, because si un método corre 60 veces every second, then if I count 60 times a second pass, right? So if I make my counters be dependent on 60 times a number, whatever number I put there is the amount of seconds that have passed. That's the logistic of por qué está así.
Ok. So, luego se genera el hamburger para ese cliente en base a los random ingredients que fueron decididos y se monta en el atributo llamado order. Order tiene dos atributos distintos, una es food y una es drink. Ahora mismo en el juego solamente se está usando la de food, no hay drinks implementados, pero eso es una de las cosas que usted podría hacer para generar puntos de bono. Podría hacer diferentes types of drinks y que se puedan servir también al cliente. Ok. En el tick de cada cliente va a perder exactamente una paciencia, el patience menos, y cuando la paciencia de ese cliente llegue a 0 o menor que 0, en el caso de que se reduzca por alguna otra cantidad que no sea esta, pues entonces se marca como que es leaving. Y en el código que vimos ya en el restaurant, los clientes que están marcados como is leaving se remueven de la lista de clients. Siempre y cuando el cliente no esté living, se va a generar la imagen de él y la imagen del hamburger al lado de él, para que se pueda ver su orden. El método de move lo que hace es que mueve al cliente 102 píxeles hacia abajo. Van a notar que el eje de Y en la pantalla es mayor hacia abajo y menor hacia arriba. El punto más alto es 0, ¿correcto?
Yep. Because el plano de coordenadas de la computadora es alrededor de los cristianos y 0, 0 se encuentra en el top left. So, positivo para la derecha, positivo para abajo.
Ok, so esa es la clase de client. Okay. Regresamos entonces a la clase de restaurante y además de client, el restaurante se hace cargo de hacerle tick a los counters. Esta es la clase base counter. Van a notar aquí que hay el método de tick en realidad no hace nada para base counter, sino que cada counter... el zoom. Gracias. Ok. El método de tick no hace nada... ¿Se ve mejor ahí? Ok. El método de tick no hace nada en el base counter, sino que cada counter que hereda de base counter se encarga de hacer su propio tick si es que hace algo. Okay. Base counter tiene dos atributos. Uno es el item que tiene ese counter, que todos tienen uno con excepción de empty counter, y el default counter width, que es una constante. Esto se usa simplemente para cuando vayan a añadir counters a la pantalla, puedan usar eso como referencia de cuánto espacio necesitan. Si voy a añadir un counter más, o sea, si voy a añadir un counter más, voy a necesitar añadir el width, pues default counter width más el width actual. IsInteractable es el método de base counter que nos dice si el player está directamente al frente del counter. Si IsInteractable devuelve true, por ejemplo, van a notar que en el juego, que creo que está corriendo, ¿no? Deja correrlo un momentito. Cuando IsInteractable es igual a true, es que entonces se le hace render a los ingredientes que nos puede dar ese counter. So, por ejemplo, en el momento ahora, el counter de lechuga va a ser igual a true, pero todos los demás van a devolver false. Okay. Entonces está el método interact que se hizo en base counter para todos los que tienen ingredientes como tal. So, si el counter tiene un item, si se le definió un item, es decir, no es un empty counter, pues entonces va a buscar al player, el burger que está en el player, y le va a añadir el ingrediente item, que es el que puede servir ese counter. Entonces el render del counter, ese es el que se hace responsable de hacer render de la imagen del counter y de la imagen del ingrediente que está encima de ese counter. Okay. Regresamos nuevamente a la clase restaurant. Hemos pasado por el client y base counter hasta ahora. ¿Hay alguna duda? Ok. Ok, pues entonces Restaurant 1 también se hace responsable del tick del player. So vamos a ir entonces a la clase de player. Que es player y aquí. Aquí. Zoomed in? Yes? Okay. Ok, so el player tiene ya entonces varios atributos. So bear with me here. Player tiene el atributo item, que entiendo que no se está usando. Eso era para una implementación anterior en donde el player solamente podía llevar un item y ponerlo encima del counter, uno a la vez. El player tiene un atributo speed, que es el que define entonces cuán rápido se va a mover de lado a lado. Tiene un atributo burger, que es el burger que ustedes ven en la parte derecha superior que se monta cuando tocamos los diferentes counters, cuando interactuamos con los diferentes counters, ese burger está en la clase de player. So, si ustedes quisieran de alguna forma interactuar con el burger y están en alguna otra clase, pueden recordar que van a tener el objeto de handler. Handler tiene un método getPlayer y desde player entonces podemos acceder al burger, el money, su speed y cualquier cosa que necesiten. Entonces vuelvo un momentito que escapé el...
Ese es el que está a la derecha y el que estamos haciendo para el cliente.
Sí, ok. La pregunta de él, pues, por el live stream. El burger que está en la izquierda superior derecha es el burger que se está creando con los ingredientes que están interactuando y es el que se le va a dar al client cuando se sirva. Entonces también está el atributo money. El atributo money es el equivalente a score aquí y en la vida real. El money del player, el money que tiene el player es el money que recibe de los clientes cuando les da la orden correcta. Okay. Los otros atributos son direction. El atributo direction nos dice simplemente hacia qué lado se dirige el player en cada momento. Cuando él llega a la izquierda, a la esquina derecha, entonces él tiene que girar a la izquierda y direction sería igual a left. Y pues las animaciones del player para que se mueva arriba y hacia abajo de esa forma cómica. Ok, so cuando se crea el player, lo primero que se hace es que se corre el método createBurger. CreateBurger simplemente crea una nueva instancia de burger, la misma que ven en la izquierda superior, y ahí es que se le van a añadir todos los ingredientes para poder matchar la configuración que quiere el cliente. Ok, el método de tick hace tick a la animación, que pues también yo creo que José lo va a explicar cómo funciona más tarde. Y básicamente esto es lo que les dije anteriormente. Cuando la posición del player esté en el borde de la derecha, la dirección va a cambiar hacia la izquierda. Y cuando el player esté en el borde izquierdo, o sea, igual a 0, entonces la dirección se cambia a derecha. Si la dirección va a ser igual a derecha, el player se va a mover según el atributo speed hacia la derecha. Si el player se está moviendo hacia la izquierda, se va a mover según dicta el atributo speed hacia la izquierda. Okay. Aquí el action button es el que conocemos como E, el que usamos para entonces recibir los ingredientes del counter. Este interaction counter es simplemente para que no podamos dejar apretado E y coger un montón de ingredientes de cantazo en un solo counter, o que no puedas darle 2 veces y coger 2. Tienes que coger un ingrediente cada vez que pasa al frente. So, si tienen algún problema con eso, pues pueden jugar con este valor de aquí. El método interact es el que nos deja interactuar con el counter dependiendo de qué counter sea. Si es un counter de ingredientes, interact simplemente nos va a coger el item que esté en ese counter y se lo va a pasar entonces al burger del player. El que dice aquí fat button, what does fat button stand for?
That is from Magica. That is
Okay.
from Magica because Magica had a fire attack. So it was a fire attack button.
Okay. Well, fire attack button in this case is the letter C. You can go to Keymatter and check that out. Básicamente, si apretas la letra C, él va a iterar por todos los counters y va a verificar si tú estás frente al empty counter. Si estás frente al empty counter y apretas la letra C, él va a crear un nuevo burger. So, va a eliminar el burger que ya estabas creando. Si tenías unos ingredientes ahí que no machean con ningún cliente, pues lo eliminas y creas un empty slot para que puedas seguir cogiendo ingredientes para el otro. Exacto, eso es si oprimes la C frente al empty counter. Te elimina el hamburger y puedes coger ingredientes para uno nuevo. ¿Contesté?
7 y 10, by the
Ok.
way.
Ah,
7 y 10.
7 y 10. Ok. Deja terminar aquí. Ok, y entonces está el otro, que es si apretas la letra R frente al plate counter, entonces llama el método ring customer. ¿Hay una pregunta atrás? El empty counter, no, ese es el plate counter. El que está más a la izquierda es el plate counter, que es el que te permite interactuar con los clientes, servirle a los clientes. El empty counter te enseño ahora. El empty counter es este de aquí, el que dice clear. Ok,
The one empty.
ok.
Yeah, it's the one you take out.
Exacto, uno de los specs es eliminar ese counter y hacer que la funcionalidad tanto del empty counter como el plate counter esté en el plate counter. So vas a tener que ver entonces cómo funciona el empty counter y aplicarle todo eso al otro. Ok, este método de aquí, ring customer, voy a explicar esto y después me voy a ir. José va a continuar. El método ring customer es el que se encarga de servirle al cliente cuya orden machee con la que tú creaste. Este método de aquí es el más que tienen permiso a cambiar. Para poder implementar lo que mencionamos de poder seleccionar a qué cliente es el que le vamos a servir, van a tener que cambiar este. No se preocupen, no va a tener que hacer nada extremadamente complicado. Se puede hacer en como 10 líneas. So, miren cómo funciona ese en detalle, analicen el spec y...
Nota importante, cuando tú lo que dice de hundir las teclas no es, por ejemplo, yo hundir 2 y dárselo al 2. Yo hundo 2, pues ahora estoy seleccionando 2, o cuando yo hunda R frente al plate counter le voy a entregar al cliente 2. ¿Ok? So there has to be a way de yo saber quién está seleccionado, ya sea un string, un cuadrado alrededor de la persona, como tú quieras. Yo tengo que ver visualmente quién yo tengo seleccionado y cuando yo hunda una de otras teclas, ese icono o lo que tú hayas hecho tiene que moverse al número que hayas hundido. Y cuando yo hunda R, que esté seleccionado, es que yo voy a tratar de entregarle. ¿Ok?
¿Hay una pregunta ya?
O sea, ahora mismo, Ring Customer, what it does is it cycles through every single client and it checks if any client's order matches the burger that you have created. If it does, it gives it to them. The spec tells you that instead of going through every client when I press R, there should be one client selected that Ring Customer will check with and only with him to check if I can give him the order or not. El primero starts by default, ¿verdad? El primero que entra por la puerta es que empieza registrado, el primero en la lista. Después, si yo vengo y hundo 3, pues cuando yo hunda R, instead of tratar de servirle al primero, le voy a servir al tercero. And so on and so forth.
Tengo que quitarle entonces la función de R de darle la orden a quien sea. Porque ahora mismo.
Tienes que quitarle lo de quien sea. La R still needs to be a thing.
Sí, por eso, pero la R ahora mismo le da al hammer
Exacto, la R le da hamburger a cualquiera. Pues al final de tu proyecto, la R solamente le puede darle el hamburger al que esté seleccionado. Y obviamente la orden tiene que machear, no puede ser darle lo que tenga. ¿No?
otra cosa. No estoy seguro si es un bug organizado en mi código o si es un bug del código original, pero cuando uno selecciona un customer que no es el primero, que
Y se va, todo se jota abajo porque se quedó un boquete porque lo quitaste por array.remove client. Yep, that's a bug que se forma cuando quitas un client directamente. You have to find a workaround because the way the code is made is divided in two. ¿Verdad? Lo explicó. Every 5 seconds it checks if restaurant's not full, brota todo el mundo para abajo y pon uno nuevo. If it's full, check if anyone's leaving, get him out y rota todos los que estén antes de él, uno. Right? So, si yo quito un cliente, cuando él chequee, ¿qué va a decir? No está lleno, pasaron 5 segundos, mueve a todo el mundo, sin importar ese espacio que está ahí, y añade un cliente nuevo. Right? So, you can't just remove them from a list. ¿Verdad? Eso es lo que le está explicando antes. You can't just remove from a list. You need to find a way to trick or to work around or implement your own way to move everybody else once you move somebody. Okay? So one of the easiest way is, how does it remove a person when the patient runs out? It triggers a flag called is leaving. So if you trigger the is leaving flag, cuando ese algoritmo corra, que vaya por todo el mundo chequeando si somebody is leaving, lo va a sacar, vamos a ver todo lo demás y va a hacer todo por ti. Okay?
Ella tenía una pregunta también. Ok. Pues nada, yo te voy a pasar esta a ti, José.
Okay.
A mí.
Okay, so I think we're done there with Ring Client, and here we check what direction the player is going. Based on where the player is going, is the image that we're gonna draw. One thing that is important to keep in mind when you're doing any type of development, but most specifically game development, is that things are not always what they seem, right? A lot of times you trick the person into thinking something is happening when it's really not, right? A good example of that is here. In my render method, you see that if I'm going right, I draw the player animation, get the current frame with the position, the width, the height, normal. But if I'm not going right, what I do is I take my X position and I add the width of the player, and then the width I put it negative, right? And that gives you the illusion that the player moved. But by doing this, I saved myself having to go through every sprite, turning them around and storing extra information when it's not needed. Right? Because the other approach to it would have been flipping all the pictures, creating an extra variable, storing them, and then using those when I'm going left. Okay? And the player wouldn't notice the difference. The one that notices the difference is you. And for one thing, it doesn't really do much. But start thinking this in bigger scale. You have 100 images that can go left, up, down, right, in many directions. And for each of them, you store a picture. That's at least 100 times 4. If there's like 5 animation sprites per direction, then that's 50 times 10, right? And that starts scaling up. But if I only have one picture that I just flip around, that's a lot of storage that I'm saving. And not only that, I keep accessing the same thing. So that's also more efficient than having to access different points of memory. Okay? Okay, so from there, then I draw the burger, right? Importante que sigo recalcando. Render runs in order. Okay? So things are rendered, are drawn in the order that you draw them. So si yo digo, draw this, then draw that, then draw C, then B will be on top of A and C will be on top of B. Okay? So if you say, oh, I'm drawing something, but I can't see it, it's probably because you're drawing something on top of it. Okay? For example, in the restaurant, if I try and draw something before I draw the background, I'm never going to see it because I'm drawing the whole background on top of it. Okay? And then with interact, I just go through every counter. I check if the counter is interactable. And if it's interactable, I interact with it. Okay? That's pretty much it for the player. I don't think there's anything else left to explain. I'm going to reiterate a little bit over client and try and give another explanation in case that it wasn't so clear. So right now, when I create a client, you know that when you create an instance of a class or an object of a class, the first thing that it does is that it runs the constructor, right? So when you have a lot of things that are very similar to each other, that are going to have very similar variables, you don't want to have to make the same variables all the time, right? For example, my player, my client, my counters, everything has width, height, X, Y, and sprites at the very least, right? All the clients also might have speed, right? So I say, okay, so if everything in this area, right, in the statics and dynamics, is gonna have sprite X, Y, width, and height, I don't want to have to, for every single counter, make all those variables, and for every single everything, make those variables. So what I can do is inherit, right? I don't know if you guys already took the inheritance lab, or if you guys know what inheritance lab is, but that's essentially it. It's inheriting the variables and the things of what you extended, right? So client extends base dynamic entity. So nowhere here you see X, Y, width, and height, besides the the signature, and then when I pass it down to the super, right? And when I pass it down to the super dynamic entity, all it does is, okay, so I'm gonna have all of those, I'm gonna ask for them, and I'm gonna pass it to my super. Okay? So then we go to its super, which is base entity, and there are the initialization of the variables. See? This is all the code that I'm saving myself like 20 times. Okay? That's the main gist of inheritance. Okay? And when we go to client, the client, whenever I create him, you see that I don't ask for a sprite. Why don't I ask for a sprite when everything else asks for a sprite in their signature of their constructor? Well, the reason is because I don't need to give it a sprite when I'm initializing it, because I already know what sprite it's going to have. So when I call it super, when I say, okay, pass this variable along to where I'm initially storing them, don't ask, because I know that it's going to be one of the people, right? And what person is it going to be? Which of the people's sprite is it going to be? Grab a random number anywhere from 0 to 8, right? Because this number is non-exclusive. And grab that index and give me that picture. And that's how the clients are generated randomly. Okay? So if I wanted to know specifically if my client was a specific type of client, what would I have to do? What's the only visible difference between two clients? What's the main variable that changes that you can for sure know the value for a specific type? The sprite. Every single scientist is going to have the exact same sprite, right? So if I go to my tick, and I say, if my mouse decides to work, right? And I make a space there and I say, if this dot sprite, and let's go to people first to give you a proper example, right? People is an array list. And when we go here, we see that it's an array list of size 9. So when you add your inspector, you have to put it to 10. When you add your anti-V, it's going to have to go to 11, right? And then here is every single one of them. Okay? So when I'm going to add another one, I'm just going to duplicate that last one twice and just change this name here to whatever picture I'm using. Okay? So if I'm going to check for a specific client, what would I have to do here? I would have to check if sprite dot equals images dot people and the number I want. And if that's true, then you know for sure that that is the type of client you want, because the sprites are the same. You know the sprite is going to have. Okay? From there, any piece of the code that you guys want me to go over? If not, we can move on to going through the specs.
I have a question about GitHub in general.
Okay.
I don't know, sorry. But when I'm doing like a change in a separate branch in my local,
Yeah.
if I make a change, but that's I'm kind of thinking of having it be the final but not releasing, do I have to commit before checking out another branch for it to not be implemented in like the master branch?
No, you don't. You can branch from wherever you want. Eclipse is a little bit fidgety. So normally what you would do is that you would commit your current branch, the branch that you're working on, and then you switch back to your master branch. then what that should do is that your Eclipse workspace should change everything to how the master was. And your changes that you weren't sure of should stay in your branch. Sometimes Eclipse kind of screws that up and merges them both. Sometimes. I've had that happen a couple times, which is why when I'm working with Git a lot, I tend to switch to IntelliJ. IntelliJ never does anything like that. It kind of does that, but typically it doesn't. So you change to your master, and then you create another branch, and it'll branch from the master, and then you can keep working on that. If you don't know if you want to merge it, but you want to continue on your other changes, you can commit that, go back to master, go back to the other branch.
So if I make changes that I don't want to merge, I have to commit them to that separate branch.
Yes, because commit just means save. Commit doesn't send anything to serve.
Because if you have changes that you haven't committed and you switch branch,
It loses it.
Those changes will go to that new branch.
No. If you leave a branch without committing, you lose the changes. You lose it.
In my local.
Yes. Committing saves them to memory so that when you change to another one, it stores your last commit.
Is that I have the experience where I've been making some changes and I will check out another branch, and then those changes will be in that branch and it will ask me to save. Like if I were to commit to save the changes I made for the other branch, it's the branch that I checked out.
Yeah, it asks you. It asks you like, if do you want to just commit? Do you want to commit and merge? Like it gives you multiple options. But how it should work, how Git works, is that if you commit it, if you just commit, it just saves them locally. It says, okay, this is what I want my branch to be when I come back to it. That's essentially what you're telling it. You're committing to those changes.
Thanks.
Yep.
Sorry to take out the.
It's all right.
project inspect, but I'm just-
Okay, so if nobody has any specific questions about any part of the code, I'm gonna quickly go over the specs. And then for the ones that are present, I might have a little extra announcement afterwards. Okay, so warm-ups. There's not much to say about these, right? We changed the background music. That's pretty easy. I think everybody's done it at this point. All you have to do is literally change the file, right? Because the game looks for a file called background.wav. So if you change that file, you change the music. Simple. Background image, same deal. You can change the image, or you can create a new image and then change which one is being drawn. Your choice. Add another object. We're not talking about a Java object here, okay? You don't have to go and create plant class and then create a plant object and render it. No, it just means something like a table or a chair. Straight. It's simple, straight to the point. Okay? So just like we're adding tables and chairs in the restaurant render, you have to draw something else. So you have to create a new image, all the types, find it, everything, and then render it. Simple. Okay? Create a new type of counter with your own ingredients. Okay? And it also says that make sure that the clients can order a burger with this ingredient. Okay? So that's kind of a three-parter. First, you have to create the ingredient. Right? Then you create your counter, and you pass it that item as the counter item. And then the third one is going to where the client generates a burger and adding that option. Right? I can go real quick and show it. All right, in the client, here, how the client creates a burger. I don't know if Joshua explained this, but essentially he picks a random number saying, I'll have this many ingredients, right? Number of ingredients equals new random number from 1 to 4. Okay, that's what the +1 means. Normally it's 0 to 3, but if I add +1, then it's 1 to 4, because whatever output I get, I add 1 to it. Then I say, okay, so I got 3, so I'm gonna add 3 ingredients. Then I add a bottom bread, I add a burger to make sure they're always there. I grow the value by $1, and then I say go from 0 to the number of ingredients I have, and per ingredient, make it cost 50 cents more, and then pick another random number from 1 to 4. If that number is 1, add a lettuce. If it's 2, add a tomato. If it's 3, add a cheese. Right? So right now, if it's 4, it's not adding anything. So what you would have to do is add an extra case with your item. That's it. Okay? You had a question? Or you can check my sprites. The sprites that are given in the project have a huge selection of ingredients to pick from. So you can also use the the sprite sheet class to crop that image and save it into a variable. Okay? I already do that with all the other ingredients. Just look at how all the other ingredients are grabbed from the picture and do the same and grab the pixel, the width, the height, and you have your own image. Okay? Then the next one. Change the empty counter for the one you created, right? So that's straight up forward. Just go to the list of counters and switch what's being initialized. Okay? Then it says, if a client is served before his patient reaches half, he should pay 15% more of the amount for the burger. Okay? So, pretty straightforward too. When I ring a customer, when I'm adding the pay, check its patients, and if its patients is more than the OU patients by half, then you can do the math. I'm pretty sure all of you know how to add 15% to an amount. Okay? If not, it's one Google away.
Can you repeat where the amount that's paid for the burger is right there in your line?
The amount that's paid for is in the order. Each client has an order that has a value. Right? So when I ring up a customer, I grab that client's order, its value, and I add it to my score. So all I have to do is make a conditional that if this condition is met, it does an extra 15%. Okay? Nice and simple. Then, change the player's base move speed. We already told you where the speed was. All you have to do is change it. Up, down, your choice. Then it says, pressing shift will make him slower. Just as easy. You already know how to check for a specific key because all of you did Snake, I hope. So you should all know how to. It's exactly the same base code, right? It all comes from the same engine that I made. So just like you press N or plus or minus, you can press shift, and you already know how to change the speed. So done. Okay, patience. So phase 2, get the order exactly right. I know it's a bit confusing. I don't know why we wrote exactly right. That's a given. There's no way not to get the order exactly right. They won't accept it. Okay? But when you give an order to somebody, all the clients' patients should go up by a fourth. Okay? So of the original patients. Okay? You should get a fourth of their patients back. Then it says, have the chef be able to serve any specific customer. I already told you guys about that. Pressing 1 through 5 selects a customer. When I press R, I go to that specific customer, I give them the burger and get them away. Okay? I'm gonna skim over that because I think I already explained that pretty well. If you guys don't understand something I say, feel free to stop me, to ask me to slow down. I know I talk fast. I'm like that. Then I guess in that case, I mean, as long as you're in front of the plate counter, I guess you can get away with technicalities. Like, if a TA gets points deducted from you because you didn't press R, as long as it only gives it to the customer in front of the plate counter, technicalities. Use the ambiguity, I always say the same thing. Use the ambiguity of the rubrics in your favor, okay? If you can do a compelling argument, you're golden. Okay, that's something I don't do too much fuss about. It's like, if any TA, if you can convince me, I can convince any TA. Okay? So if any TA gets you points deducted and you think they're unfair and they won't give you your points, you come talk to me, and if you sell me the point and I agree with you, we'll get you those points. Okay? Because I made these rubrics, I made this project. They're not gonna argue with me. Okay? They're like, oh no, that's not what it means. I wrote it, I know what it means. Okay? Then, instead of checking, okay. Then it says, add a new counter that serves a unique ability. I would say that this is kind of the big one. right? Because it has a lot of little small parts, right? It says this counter will set a random amount of ticks in the thousands, right? So essentially, I need to create a random number from 1,000 to anywhere you want, as long as it's more than 1,000. When the counter is initialized, then I need to start counting until I reach there. When I reach there, I need to have a flag, right, that says, okay, the counter has been activated. And then I need to activate a second counter that starts boosting up for 2 seconds. So 2 times 60 is the number you're looking for. Then, that's the only period where the counter is interactive. So whatever this flag you use is also the flag that's going to be interact. So interact, instead of just being if it's in front of him, it's if it's in front of him and it's activated, right? And then whenever the player uses it or it runs out of that 2-second timer, a new number from 1,000 to whatever you select is picked, and whole process is repeated.
Y es que si en esos 2 segundos no cumple, entonces
All customers' patience will go up to their max. Okay? And let me do a quick check here. Nobody's asking questions over here. Okay. So, client, the last one. These are relatively simple, right? Create a special type of client, They're pretty much the same. And it says, if he doesn't get his food in time, the player will lose half of his money. That part is easy. I don't think anybody has a question on how to do that. Then it said, all future customers will have 6% less patience, right? So what does that mean? It means that the patience is a random number from 1 minute to 2 minutes, right? So all future customers have to have 6% less. So that 1 minute and that 2 minutes both have to go down by 6%. So you have to calculate the 6% of 1 minute and take it away from that, and then the 6% of 2 minutes and take it away from that total, right? And you do that since you're already working from the client class, it shouldn't be that difficult. But this also means that you have to change that. Instead of those two numbers being hard-coded, now they need to be variables, because you're going to change them. So you need to create two variables with those two counters or those two borders, use them, and then edit those when this condition is met. Okay? But in the same hand, but on the other hand, if he does get it on time, everybody's patience will go up by 12%. So everybody in the restaurant at that moment, their current patience will go up by 12% of the original patience, and all future clients will have a 10% more. And it's just like, instead of going down, it goes up. Okay? Then the other one, anti-V, as their patience goes down, every 8% they will lower a randomly selected client's patience by 4%. Right? So you have to first calculate what an 8% of this client is. Right? If they're 10, an 8%, it's 8. Well, it's not 8, but just random number. So then you need to make a counter that every time they lose patience, this counter goes up, and then you have to check if this counter is bigger or equal than the number you established was the 8% of their original patience. Then select a random patience. So select a random number from 1 to 2. If it's 1, then grab the patience before her or after her, whatever you choose to be your rubric, right? And it says lower that person's patience by 4. Okay, so essentially this person, as they lose patience, they annoy other people. Okay, that's essentially what's going on here. So you have to calculate what the 8% of their patience is. Remember, it's random, so you can have a static value. Then have a counter counting up to that many patient points lost, and when it's met, select randomly a customer from before or after, which now shouldn't be that difficult because you already can access a client by index. right? Because you're doing it for the ranking of a customer. So in the same manner that when you press 2, you select the second one, then this person, you can grab its index in the list and then add one or get one down. Okay? Then the last one, right? Well, the last one here is the burgers have a cooking process based on a counter and a percentage of tinting, right? So if we go real quick to burger, we see that we have, let's see, where is it? In the render, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's not burger, it's in the ingredients, draw ingredients. So I don't remember where it is. It's been a while since I looked at this project. There we go, found it. So a burger has a cooking time, a burn time, a time in stove. It says if it's cooking, if it's burnt, and a tint. The tint starts in 1, right? Every time that the burger is cooking, the time in stove goes up, the tint goes, in this case, down, right? Because it starts at 111, which is white, which is no tint. It stays the same, right? Then it goes down by 0.002. If it's less than 0, put it back to 0, right? So it doesn't start going to the negatives because it'll crash. Then, if the time in stove is greater than the burn time, then say that it's burnt. When interacting with this counter, if I'm not cooking, start cooking. And reset the sprite, right? Because I don't want the sprite to stay burned and then get more burn. So I want to reset the sprite. If I am cooking, check if the time in stove is less than the burn time and more than the cook time, because that's the sweet spot when it's cooked. And then, if that's the case, then item.sprite equals tint the burger picture by the amount of tint. Okay? So how tinting works is that you add a percentage of red, blue, and green given by a decimal value. So if you want to make it 50% more red, in red you put 0.5, right? But if all the tints are the same, what it does is gradually make it darker. Okay, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm adding a decimal value that starts at 1, so 100% all the way, white. And it goes down all the way to 000, which is black. Okay, then I'm cooking to false, burn to false, and reset everything. Well, you could, yeah, very similar. Okay, and then I say if the time is more than the burn time, then no longer cooking, no longer burn, time in stove go back to 0, and tint goes back to 1. Okay, and when I render, I say draw image, the sprite. Then if I'm cooking, draw it this way, right? And if I'm cooking, draw. So this is the one that appears on the stove itself. So as long as it's cooking, I'm in front of it or not, draw the image tinted of the sprite with the tinted value in that position. And then, if I'm interacting, then draw the normal one without tint. Okay? So, what the last spec is saying is that the burn time, the tint, when it gets accepted, if it's between 0.48 and 0.52, I think it says, right? Yeah. Right? It's saying, so as it goes down by 0.52, if you manage to give him the burger between these two numbers, then they'll give you an extra 12%. Okay? And that's a pretty simple if statement, if you guys understood what I just said. Okay? Then, the win or lose statement. You already worked with win or lose statements in Snake, I believe, right? So, if the player wins $50, so if the score goes above 50, he wins. Take me to win state. Tell me how much money I made. Tell me how many clients left. If, and if 10 people leave, then change me to lose state. And just like in win state, display the amount of money made. and the amount of people left. Okay, so in theory you could have one state for both, right? I don't think it says specifically. See, it says to A win state and to A lose state. It doesn't have to be two separate states, right? If you want to make it one state that you pass as a parameter if they want to lose, that's up to you, right? You can get creative there. It doesn't have to be two because they don't have a lot of differences. They're all displaying the same thing. The only thing that's different is one says you win, one says you lost. Okay? And I think that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any doubts with the specs, with anything along the line? Okay, for the burger. Right, so the burger, the cooking time is 85 ticks. So it takes a second and a half to be cooked. So anywhere from a second and a half to 6 seconds, you can pick a burger. Right? Anywhere in between. But as the intent starts in 1. But as the burger gets more and more cooked, the tint goes down by 0.002, right? So first it starts in 1, then it goes to 0.998, then 0.996, then all the way to 000. Okay? So essentially, and I think this was supposed to be 0.2, I think it was the extra 0 by accident. You can probably change that if you want it to be easier because it's really difficult to get 0.48 and 0.53 if you're going down by 0.02. Okay? But also remember that this is happening 60 times a second. Right? So multiply this by 60 and that's the amount every second is going down. You still probably want to change it, but yeah. So if it's going by 0.02, 0.002, 0.002, eventually it's going to reach 0.48. Right? So if it reaches 0.48 and anywhere before, actually if it reaches 0.53 at any point before 0.48, if you click it when the variable is anywhere there, give me an extra credit. Okay? That answers it? Okay. So I think that's it for this. If you guys want to see something fun, stay around for an extra minute or so. I don't have a lot here. I'm gonna end the live stream here. Okay, so bye bye everybody in the live stream.